שהלך למדינת הים. איתמר, רב אמר, we are now on page 107. We learn in the Mishna a disputation if a husband disappear. He left home to overseas, his wife asking for basic sustenance. We learn in the Mishnah is a disputation when the claim come up, when she filed the claim, beginning, end, but the idea is, the question is, did he left her something, he didn't, so poskim mezonot le'eshet ish, u'shmuel amar en poskim mezonot le'eshet ish. Meaning, we have the assumption, the way that the rabbis tells us, is if we understand it was peace. Peace meaning that they have some type of interaction, and best knowledge he went overseas for all kind of reasons. So they said, all right, the Bet Din rabbinic court, according to Rav, they need to go to his estate and exercise her rights by giving her nourishment, sustenance. And Shmuel said, no, you cannot do it, and you have to remember that we are not speaking about the past, because past, it may happen, she get paid, we're not sure about it. We have the assumption that if the husband was present, he may claim that he gave her in the past. We are only speaking about from now and onward. אמר שמואל מודלי אבא בשלושה חודשים הראשונים לפי שאדם מניח בתור אחד. We have the assumption that the way, that's the halacha, the Mordechai and others said that the husband left home, and we understand from their family dynamics, from the neighbors, that it was a peaceful relationship. Because it is clear to us as objective rabbinic court that if it was a disputation, a fight took place between them, that's a different story. But if it's a peace, so we assume he left her some money. So otherwise, if he left because of it's a fight, so we understand why she have nothing. B'sham'u bo shemet. So now we put another limitation, and we said the way it is Tosfot tells us that it was two witnesses that said that he is no longer among the living, and whom it can be hearsay evidence, but they hear from other travelers. Current events, he went to Nepal. And another two guys said that he went to Everest with other Meshugoim and he never returned. So you have two guys that came and they heard from others that he's gone. Right? That's the way Ritva, Tosfot tells us. So they were kulam lo plige. So everyone agreed that you have to exercise her right from now on and go to his estate and let her use it. Ki plige, the disputation, that it's not clear that he's dead. Rav amar poskim, da mishuabad la, u'shmuel amar en poskim. Rav said, look, you have a marriage contract. He is obligated to support her. So therefore, if he's not present, we exercise his obligation by going to his estate and give her. Shmuel said, no, you can't do it just like that. My tama. What's the reason of Shmuel that he refused to do that? He said, Rav Zvid amar ematzrarei atapsei, which means it may happen that he left her a trust account. We call it in ancient time a bag of coins. So it means since we assume that he is a responsible man, so he left her. In those days it was a bag full of coin, and nowadays it's like endowment or trust or money or whatever it is that she can support herself. Maybe he said to her before he went out that instead of doing the regular manner of marriage contract, if you remember, the husband commit himself to support her. In exchange, she needs to give him her labor, her income. Now he said to her, look, since I'm going away and I cannot support you, so you need to go out and work, and whatever you have an income, it's yours. Okay? So we assume that was a deal. My benai, what's the difference between two of you? Ika benai hu gdola velo sipka, ina mektana vesapka. The assumption is that a young lady gets the money, it's spent in the mall, spent in the shopping in a second, which means all this money disappear shortly, versus adult. Another view is you have to differentiate between the years that is a famine, meaning the year that it's no serious income. So here you have to see how we approach what exactly happened, what exact the dynamic between him and her before he left. None. So we learned the Mishnah earlier on page 104. מי שלח למדינת הים ואשתו טובת מזונות חנן אמרתי שווה בסוף. If you remember, we have this disputation that when the husband passed and she come to collect her Ketubah contract, so she needs to take an oath since it's money involved. You remember, we said that if it's especially if it's an orphan involved here, maybe not from her stepsons, etc. So she needs to take an oath. ולא תשבע בתחילה. She will not take an oath at the beginning stage, which is the time of collecting the sustenance. נחלקו לה בני כהנים גדולים ואמרו תשבע בתחילה ובסוף. She need to take 2 oaths at the beginning when she collects her nourishment and at the end when she come to collect her Ketubah contract. The Gemara elaborates on that question. עד כאן לא פליג אל עניין שבועה. The disputation between חנן ובני כהנים גדולים applies to the matter of oath she needs to take when she collects her income. אבל מזוני, but when it's come to a basic sustenance, Yahavin la. Everyone said that you give it to her. So that's basically contradicted what Shmuel said, that you don't give the married woman a support when the husband left for overseas. Tirgema Shmuel responded and said, B'sheshamu bo shemet, which means they heard that he passed away. Tashma. מי שלח לדעת ים ואשתו טובת מזונות בני כהנים גדולים אומרים תשבע חנן אמרו לא תשבע. That's the disputation we just read. ואם בא ואמר פסקת למזונות, if later the husband came and he said, I left her a certain amount of money that she can support herself when I'm away. Ne'eman, we can trust it, that it's true, and therefore she needs to return to him the money that the bedding exercised and gave her at the time that he was away. So it means that the disputation between Hanan and Bnei Kohanim Gdolim, it's only in regards to the matter of oath. But everyone agrees that you have to give her the basic support of sustenance, and that's basically contradicted to what Shmuel said earlier. Hanam and Igmar respond, hearing the Braita, B'shisham'u bo shemet, they heard that the husband passed. Ve'aim ba v'amar kama, so he said, Im ba lachar shmua, which means after they heard that he passed, and it means that was incorrect information. Tashma, מי שלח במדינת הים אשתו טובת מזונות ובא ואמר צאי מעשה ידייך ממזונותייך רשאי. קדמו בדין ופסקו, מה שפסקו פסקו. So it means that's basically contradictory to what Shmuel said. הכנה ובששמעו בו שמת. They heard that he passed away. So what we hear, that if he come and said, it means that information was incorrect. Tashma. מי שלח למדינת הים ואשתו טובת מזונות. Somebody, again, go away to overseas and she claimed for support. בדין יורדים לחסם וזנים ומפרסמים לאשתו, as we said, אבל לא מנבנו אותם, but they have to take care of his wife, but not his young children, ולא דבר אחר, and not דבר אחר, other things. So what does that mean? Later we explain. So it means the bedding exercise her right by giving her the basic sustenance, and that's contradictory to what Shmuel said. אמר רב ששת בשמשרש אשתו על ידי שליש, which means he put a guardian to support his wife before he left overseas, and that guardian stopped giving her the money. It means that the husband not left other sources of income, and he didn't say to her, go and walk. So it means, Shmuel agreed that you have to give her basic sustenance. If this is the case, so banav notav nami, so it's also his children as well. So they said, she'ishra lazo v'lo ishra lazo. So it means that when he gave the guardian right to give support to his wife, but not to his sons and daughter. He said clearly, lucidly to his guardian, this money only for her, not for the children. My paska, So if he left a guardian, why he did it? A person does such a thing? אלא אמר רב פאפא, כששמעה בו שמת בעד אחד. She heard only one person that said that he passed, and she was told just by one witness that he is no longer among the living. So that's therefore he, the wife, the ibait in suve be'et echad, if she wants to get married just by one witness that claimed that her husband passed, matze min seva. If you remember, we said usually in a matter of marriage and divorce, you do not go by one witness with Jewish law. But if it's an issue of deserted wife, we said many times that the rabbis are more lenient. Therefore, the rabbi said that, okay, we don't want her to be aguna, to be a deserted wife, so we're allowed to marry even with one single person, and that's applies here. If even that witness didn't see it by itself, he just heard it from others, that's the way Ritva said. So you can support it even how much so if you allow her to marry, how much so you need to give her support by that one witness. However, his sons and daughters, if they want to go after his estate, just by witness of one person, this is a different story. In order for sons and daughters to inherit their father, they need to have two kosher witnesses that testify that the father is dead. So therefore, the way that the rabbis tells us, you see it a lot, Nodab Yehuda, Tashbetz, others. So therefore, if they cannot go after his estate, so for sure they don't have the basic sustenance by just having one witness. So you see here, we have a huge differentiation between wife and sons and daughter. Wife, it's a different story even by one witness. Sons and daughter is a different story. You need to have two kosher witnesses to have the application of access to estate in order for them to have the support that apply even for their basic sustenance. My davar acher. What exactly they mean by saying something else mentioned in the Braita? So Rabbi Chizda amar tachshit. Tachshit is that a special perfume that women use to. So even the husband is obligated to give, for example, for holidays, etc., a certain amount of gift, whatever it is, right? Here, Tosfot explain in page 48, that applies solely if they live together. If he's away, it's a different story. Rav Yosef amar tzedakah. Rav Yosef said, when you ask the community to use a charity fund, or you go to a certain people in the city, the wealthy, etc., and ask for support, you don't go by what money left in his estate, because you don't know. Maybe he gives something. So trace the situation. You have something there. For example, I'm just using a current example. You have a car that's standing there in a parking lot, right? But meanwhile, she needs bread. So you can access the charity fund since you don't have an access to the man, in order for her not to die in famine. She needs to be support, right? So you can go to people and ask for help, even there is some estate there. Manda amar tachshit, Rav Chizda said that's applied to a perfume or other gifts that the husband gives. So he said if the husband is not living with her, it's no need to do it. Kol sheken, how much so? 107 beats daka. So when you have this idea that you go to the people in the city and you ask to collect people to pay, and here we need to digress for a second just to make sure that we understand what's the idea. The idea is there is a certain need for women. For example, jewelry, cosmetic, perfumes, these type of things. It's something that she gets used to, women need it, whatever argument you put here. The idea is, man de amar tzedakah, aval tachshit yahavin alei, de lo nichal titnaval. We have the assumption, the Roshita Mekubetzet explained, that in a normal interaction between husband and wife, we assume that he doesn't want her to degrade it. to be in a situation that even he's not present, to see her, it's also his name, his reputation, to see her like falling apart. I meant physically, apparently, etc. It's a certain decorum of respect that was expected. Tashma. So here we bring a source from a different Braita, Hayvama. Here again I need to give some background. This is something we study many times from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25. Husband passed away, and his surviving wife is about to be levirate or released from his surviving brother. That's the mitzvah of the Torah of Yibum, levirate marriage, which we explained many times. The two options for the brother, it's either to marry, let's use name, Reuven, Shimon. Reuven married Tamar. Reuven passed away, no children. Now Shimon, his surviving brother, have a choice, either to do levirate, meaning marry his sister-in-law, the surviving wife of Reuven, in order to perpetuate the name of the Reuvens as a deceased. You see implication in the book of Ruth, which we're about to study in Shavuot. Or he can do a chalitza, a matter of releasing her to go out and marry whoever she wished to. The problem is we have a 3-month period which we discussed in a case of divorcee as well as yevama. Meaning, married couple, let's call them name, Reuven and Tamar, or Reuven and Sarah. Reuven divorced Sarah. Reuven passed away, Tamar is widow. Regardless if she's a widow or divorcee, meaning the rabbis required a 90 days, 3 months period, waiting period for her to make sure she is not carry a baby from the previous marriage, to avoid mamzerut, to avoid issue of a child who is illegitimate. Furthermore, in order for the surviving brother Shimon to marry Tamar, the reason, we said in Leviticus 18, we said that a brother cannot marry the wife of his brother. It's prohibited by the Torah law. The mitzvah entered to our domain if the brother passed away childless. But again, if she is pregnant, then it's a abomination, is prohibited. In order for us to determine her pregnancy or not, we have a schedule of 3 months period that we need to examine to make sure that the widow Tamar is not pregnant. So here we see in the Braita, Hayvama Shlosha Chodashim Harishonim. This is the 3 month period that she can neither marry nor have any manner of Yibum, as the Gemara said in Yevamot 41b, that it's Pogea Be'eshet Ach, the whole idea of 3 months period. ניזונת משל בעלה, מכאן ואילך אינה ניזונת לא משל בעלה ולא משל יבם. 3 months period, we have to go after the estate of the passing husband in order to support her needs. Which means if Reuven left, whatever it is, any type of estate that we can access to that estate and support her basic sustenance, we have to do that because she, in a chance for her to be pregnant with him, she deserved to be supported by the money of the estate of the late husband. However, when the 3 months period passed, now Shimon, the surviving brother, have the obligation to do one of the two, either to levirate, meaning to marry Tamar, or to release her. Since it's now in his domain, therefore now impose upon Shimon a state to support the sustenance, to support Tamar's need. So they said, if he is in a situation that he is not yet have her under the chuppah canopy, which means Shimon did not marry her yet, Rashi said, so therefore she is in a waiting period to be either levirate or released, so therefore you cannot give her the support from the late husband, you cannot give her the support from potentially newly husband, so therefore this is a period that she can neither one of the two access to those estate. However, if the 3 months period pass, Amad Badin Ubarach, if, for example, the Pnei Yoshua said that he was a sick, or he ran away in that 3-month period, Nizonet Mishel Yavam. So now, since he is Shimon, he is the Levirate brother who is under his domain, meaning she's not released to marry anyone else, he has the obligation, regardless of the circumstance, to support her. Which means that total contradicted what Shmuel tells us, that if the Avam ran away, so you go after his estate and exercise her right for sustenance from his estate. Amar lach Shmuel, Shmuel responded and said, Lemay nechush la lehai. What's the reason you said that she cannot be support? Earlier we said 2 reasons. Here we try to say that it's not applicable. Imishum tzrarei, if you are concerned that maybe he already left her some money for her basic need, lo mikarva da'atei legabei. They're not married yet, so you can't tell me that this strong feeling as a couple, cohabitated couple, that being together, and the husband has these obligations, and therefore he left her money not to be deserted, not to be alone, that's not applied in this fresh situation with the Yavam. Ve'im mishum ma'aseh yadea, if you have a concern that maybe, as we said earlier, he asked her to go ahead and have her income and she can have the access to her own income, the answer is lo misha abdale. It's total not obligated. You remember we said that the rabbi's reconciliation by saying the husband commit himself to what? To use the Ketubah contract to pay her. In exchange, her labor is going to him. That's not applied because it's the whole idea of the obligation upon the Avam. It's a fine. It's not a obligation by the contract. So Tosfot said here, and also in Yevamot 41b, that's not a rabbinic decree to do in this situation. The Rosh on Yevamot 4 have a different reason for that. But anyway, Tashma, another challenge of what Shmuel said. The couple went to Nepal. She returned from the trip and she said, my husband is gone. We went to the Mount Everest and he never come back. Ratzta nizonet, Ratzta govat ketubata. She have the idea that she have the access to his estate, or she can exercise her right to collect money for her Ketubah contract. Gershani Bali, if she said, my husband divorced me, she cannot hold reliability. מתפרנסת והולכת על ידי כתובתה. So a married woman cannot take just by her word credibility to say that she divorced. She need to bring us a very clear proof. So the idea is that since Rashi explained that by the Ketubah, generally speaking, she entitled to, because that's part of his obligation. But other than that, you need to have some written proof or evidence to impose more money. So here, from the last ruling of this Braita, we have a proof that woman, a husband travel overseas, we can impose the support, because otherwise we have considered she may be not deserve anything because she's not divorced yet. That's the Shita said. So they explain, Achaname, גרשני בעלי מתפרנס והולך עד כדי כתובתה. החנמי כששמעו בו שמת, which means they have 2 witnesses that came in and said that we heard that the husband passed the same time that she said that she divorced him. So the Shmuel agreed, as we said earlier, that we rules that she have to get the basic sustenance from his estate. Mishna al Ketubah. So what's the real reason that we said that the difference about the sum up to the amount of her marriage contract? Why is she giving no more than this? If he is dead, she should be allowed to sustain herself from all of his property until she weds another. So the Gemara said, the ihi the afsida nafsha. She is the loss of herself. Why? Because she have this claim that she was divorced, so she forfeits her right to more sustenance. Tashma. Keitzad amru mema'enet ein la mezonot. So, in which circumstance you said that mema'enet, one who refuses, do not have the basic sustenance? So here we are on Tractate Kiddushin, page 41. They explain to us a situation of a minor. You have a young girl that lost her father, and therefore her mother or the oldest brother married her to someone. But she has the right, we explained many times, rabbinic right to refuse, meaning she can live with a man and then whatever it is, she come out and she says, I don't wish to do it. So her manner of betrothed applies only when she passed the age of betrothed, meaning when she passed the bat mitzvah's age, etc. So then, now, the reason the sages allow her to be married or asked to do it, it's in order to guard her, that people not treated her in the immoral way. So therefore, since this all manner of betrothal is rabbinic, as the Gemara tells us in Tractate Yevamot, page 112, so therefore she can exercise by refusal. She says, I don't want to live with him. And then retroactively, that manner of betrothal is not effective, and she can go out for another man even without any manner of bill of divorce, the get. So what you see here, we see here, ממאנת אין לה מזונות. אתה יכול לומר ביושבת תחת בעלה, שהרי בעלה חי במזונות. Husband is obligated to support her. אלא כגון שהלך בעלה למדינת הים. You have to say that the husband traveled, for example, to China. לבתה ואכלה. So she needs money, she borrowed money from people for her basic sustenance. She ate. עמדה ומיינה. And then she stood up and she refuses to live with him. So basically, the moment she did that, that retroactively uprooted the marriage. So he has the obligation to pay off the loan that she took at that period that he was away. So tama de miana, halo miana yavinan la. All that applies only if she used the right of refusal. Otherwise, you give her the sustenance, even the husband travel overseas. And that totally contradicted to what Shmuel said. אמר לך שמואל, האחה למי ניחוש לה? אם משום צרה רצרה לקטנה לו מפיס, ואם משום מעשידה קטנה לו ספקה. The same claim as we said. If you have this bundle of money before his departure, which means he left her some money that she have, one does not give a bundle of money to a minor. If the concern is due to the possibility that he instructed her to subsist on her earning, the earning of a minor is not enough to cover the expenses of her sustenance. So what you see here, you do not have any resolution to be found for the dispute between Rav and Shmuel, and that my have'ala. So what's the conclusion of this dispute? כי עתה רב דימי אמר מעשה בא לפני רבי בבית שערים ופסק למזונות. It was a story of בית שערים, as we explained day before yesterday. Is a place that we have the court, and he appointed sustenance for her. But לפני רבי ישמעאל ציפור ולא פסק למזונות. Another rabbi, Rabbi Yishmael, in the city of Tzipor in Galilee, he did not rule for her sustenance. תהי בה רבי יוחנן. So Rabbi Yochanan challenged that, and he said, וכי מה ראה רבי ישמעאל שלא פסק למזונות? What's the reason Rabbi Yishmael ruled not to support her the basic sustenance? הלא נחלקו בני כהנים גדולים בחנן לעניין שבועה. The old disputation we mentioned earlier in this shiur is between Hanan and Bnei Kohanim Gdolim in regards to taking an oath אבל מזוני, however, as far as the sustenance is concerned, they concurred that the rabbinic court, the bed din Yavinale gives it to her. אמר רב שמן בר אבא, כבר תרגם הרבנו שמואל בבבל. So it's already, I have the Rabbi Shmuel and Bavel is already interpreted. כששמעו בו שמת, when they heard the news that the husband passed. אמרו לפטרידו בה בכולי עי. So Rabbi Yochanan tell him, have you gone that far in your analysis of this case that you are able to resolve the problem? כי עת הרבין אמר, מעשה בא לפני רבי בית שרים לא פסק למזות, לפני רבי שמואל בציבור לא פסק למזות, אמר רבי יוחנן מרש לא פסק לה, the same manner. דאלו לחלקו חנן בית בני כהנים גולים, אלא לעניין שבועה ולמזות יאבין עלה. אמר לרב שם ברבא, כבר דימה שמואל בבל כשמור שמת. אמר למאי פטרידו בכולי עי, the same analysis, והלכתה כבתי דרב, and the halacha is according with the opinion of Rav, ופוסקים מזונות לאשת איש, and you have this apportion sustenance for married woman as the husband left overseas, and therefore והלכתה, and the halacha follow כבתי דרבונה דאמר רבונה אמר רב, יכולה אישה שתאמר לבעלה אני נצן ואני עושה. So she, as we said many times, she can say, okay, no deal. You will keep my earning, you will not keep my earning, and I'll not ask you for this. So the reason is that this arrangement was enacted by the sages for the wife's benefit. And as a result, she can relinquish her rights from her to her sustenance in this way. Basically, she says, it's like, they said to a bee, I don't want your honey and I don't want you to bite me, right? So she basically said, okay, don't support and I don't going to give you my earning. והלכת כבתי דרב זביד בקוניה, דאמר רב זביד, הנאמן דקוניה חיברי והוקם שערו. He said, this mane de ukinia, which is the earthenware vessels that were glazed over, the white and black ones are permitted after they have washed, right? Because those type of vessels prevented them from absorbing the food places inside them. Yeruke asire, the green are prohibited because they absorb from the sustenance that is out inside them. ולא אמרן אלא דלית ליבו קרטופני. This is only if you don't have a cracks. אבל yet יתבהו קרטופני. But if you have those cracks, asirate prohibited, because that's the idea of bli'ah, that it's told these cracks, it's absorbed the isur.
Boyachem leshuloim malachai yeshuloim malachai